I'm the one in charge here. My decisions are final. If you don't follow my rules, we'll get a divorce. Even though my husband was having an affair, he still tried to control me. Why should I do everything he tells me to do? Fine, let's get a divorce then. I changed all our loans to be in his name, hoping he would understand how much I had contributed to our life together. My name is Belle. I'm 36 years old, and I work as a system engineer. It's been 6 years since I married my husband, Derek. We met at work when the company I worked for hired his company for some work. When I was a temporary worker at his company, he spoke to me kindly. Over time, we got to know each other outside of work. After dating for a while, he proposed, and I said yes. When I married him, I quit my job because working as an engineer was very demanding. I was often overworked, both physically and mentally, and the pay wasn't great. I worried that if I kept working like that, I wouldn't have time for my husband, and our relationship might suffer. So, I decided to become a freelancer, which gave me more time to take care of the house and spend time with him. At first, I didn't earn much as a freelancer, but I had experience as an engineer, so eventually, I started getting more clients and making more money. I was amazed at how quickly my income grew and was grateful to my husband for supporting us when I wasn't making much. I worked hard at home, even though I wasn't a great cook. I tried to make new meals every day using recipe books to make my husband happy. Thank you for cooking and cleaning. It really helps me, my husband would say. His praise made me happy. In the beginning of our marriage, we respected each other and had a good life together. But after a few years, my husband suddenly said, "Isn't it time we move into a new house?" I was surprised. He wasn't someone who saved money, so I asked, "Shouldn't we save a little more before making a big move?" "What are you talking about? I make a decent income, don't I? Huh? You haven't had any financial problems since we got married, right?" "That's because of my income," I wanted to say, but I couldn't tell my husband that. Even though my husband gave me money for household expenses, he always spent his own allowance before payday. So, I saved as much as I could from my income and added it to our household budget. Thanks to that, we managed to live without financial issues. When we first got married, I was grateful for my husband's income. That's why I never told him that I was making more money working from home. I didn't want to hurt his feelings or make him feel bad about it. Even though I sometimes felt like we were spending too much, our lifestyle didn't change, so I figured my income had probably gone up. Maybe he didn't have a good understanding of his own income and expenses. But then my husband started talking about building a new house, and I didn't know how to stop him. He seemed excited about it, and I was left with no way to stop him. "What kind of house do you want?" I asked. I needed to find a way to build a low-cost house while listening to his wishes, but my husband kept adding more and more requirements. "If we want to meet all these conditions, the house will cost a lot of money," I said. "That's fine. It's a once-in-a-lifetime purchase. My income should be enough, right?" I didn't understand why he was so confident about it. I regretted not telling him about my income earlier, but I decided to bring it up now to calm him down. "Derek, about the household expenses. I also contribute a significant amount from my income," I said. For some reason, my husband didn't believe me. "Come on, stop dragging your feet." "I'm not lying," I replied. I wanted him to buy a more affordable house, but in the end, he didn't listen to me. He used his salary to take out a loan for a house that he could barely afford. At first, I thought we were spending money reasonably, but over time, my husband's spending habits got worse. He started buying expensive brand-name clothes and watches, and going out drinking with his coworkers every night. Even though he worked overtime to make up for it, his spending habits became harder and harder to ignore. Despite everything, my husband finally decided he wanted to build a house, and in the end, he made it happen. "Wow, this is a really nice house. A house is a clear sign of success, isn't it?" He was right. The new house was amazing. It was definitely worth the price. It was big, beautiful, and comfortable to live in. My workroom was larger now, and I could fit a big desk, which made it easier to work comfortably. When your workspace is better, you can get your work done faster and easier, which helped me become more productive. I was grateful for that. But the monthly mortgage payment still made me anxious. My husband didn't seem to realize it, but we were paying off a long-term loan every month. The house was in his name, but he had a bad habit of overspending, so there was never any money left in his account. Because of this, I had to deposit my income into his account just to pay the mortgage. I was starting to feel frustrated with the situation. One day, I decided to talk to him about it. "Don't you think you've been spending too much lately? You need to think about things like the mortgage," I said. My husband frowned and replied, "What are you talking about? Haven't we been able to live a normal life even after buying the house? If that's the case, there's no problem. You're just worrying about small details. Isn't it your fault that you don't have enough money because you're bad at managing it?" "That's not my problem." "Hold on," I said. "I'm constantly trying to save money on daily living expenses with the money you give me, and I'm also using the money I earn to pay for the mortgage and other expenses. Please don't talk to me like that," my husband shouted. "What's wrong with you? Besides, the money you're putting in isn't even that much, so don't act like you're so great. The person who earns the most is the greatest, and that's me. Don't try to give me your opinions." His words shocked me. I couldn't believe how he had changed. He used to be kind and considerate when we first got married, but things had become tense between us. We barely talked anymore, and sometimes, we didn't even greet each other. My husband started working overtime more than ever before and came home late every night. I started wondering if this was how our married life would continue, living under the same roof without even talking. If that was the case, maybe a divorce would be better. But I still hoped we could fix things. After thinking about it, I decided to take the first step and try to talk to him. But then, my husband shattered any hope I had in an instant. It happened when I went out to buy a birthday present for a friend. It was a weekday, and my husband should have been at work, but when I was in town, I saw him walking with a young woman I didn't know, dressed in casual clothes. I couldn't believe it, but I immediately thought he must be having an affair. To find out for sure, I hired a private investigator. About 3 weeks later, I got the results. When I went to the detective agency, I learned that my husband was indeed having an affair with a colleague from work, and, surprisingly, their relationship had been going on for about 2 years. I now understood why my husband had started spending so much money and coming home late after working overtime. He was seeing someone else. I was furious. After all the things he had said to me, he was the one cheating. I felt foolish for trying to protect his pride and our marriage. I decided I couldn't just sit back anymore. When I rushed back home, my husband was sitting on the sofa, watching a sports program. I stood between my husband and the TV, holding the proof of his affair in front of him. "Explain this," I said. When I showed him the photos, he seemed surprised for a moment, but then quickly changed his attitude. "Oh, that's Meg, she's my new wife," he said casually. "New wife? What are you talking about?" "Well, now that you know, there's no point in pretending. Unfortunately, you're no longer needed." "What are you saying?" I was shocked. "Frankly, I don't need you in my life anymore, but Meg doesn't want to do the housework, so you can stay and do it for her." "What? Are you crazy? I would never do that." My husband's face turned red with anger. "I'm the breadwinner in this household, so my orders are final. If you can't listen to me, then we'll get a divorce." Even though he was having an affair, my husband was still trying to control me. "Why should I listen to you?" I asked. "Fine, let's get a divorce. First of all, you had an affair, so we can't stay married. Let's just get divorced already." My husband was shocked, but agreed quickly. "Oh, all right, don't come crying to me later. But you need to help me change the names on the utility bills and the car loans we just signed up for," he added. I didn't hesitate. I changed all the loans to be in his name and filed for the divorce. He probably thought it was over, but for me, it was just the beginning. He needed to realize how much I had supported him all these years. The day after the divorce was final, I was already enjoying life in my new apartment. Then, I started getting calls from my ex-husband. Since he hadn't paid me any compensation yet, I hadn't blocked his number. When I answered, he sounded flustered and said, "I need to talk." I agreed to meet him at a cafe, but to my surprise, he brought his mistress along. "Well, you two look great together," I said, feeling disgusted. "What's going on?" He looked uneasy and said, "Why didn't you tell me that every month a large amount of money is being deducted for loans? And why are the food expenses, car loans, utilities, and everything else so high? What are you trying to do by pushing all that onto me? I divorced you and left that house, so that's only natural. I don't have any other intentions," I said. "Shut up," This is fraud. I'll sue you, my ex-husband shouted, glaring at me with his mistress. They both blamed me, but I couldn't just accept their ridiculous accusations. It's your fault for not understanding the situation, I told him. I showed you all the documents. Since the loan for the house was originally in your name, it's only natural that you should pay for it. Until now, I've been putting money into your account. He seemed confused. How can you, with just a small income, put in that much money? I calmly explained everything to him. I'm a freelance engineer, and I'm earning around $200,000 a year. He was shocked when he found out I earned more than he did, but that didn't matter anymore. I haven't properly claimed compensation yet, but I will do so through a lawyer, I said firmly. Are you trying to swindle us? He asked. I'm just using my rightful claim, I replied. I will also make claims against your mistress. The next thing I knew, I received compensation from both of them for the emotional distress they caused me. As for the woman my ex-husband had an affair with, she was devastated when she found out he wasn't even using his own money to pay off the loan. The next day, she disappeared from his life. Their affair ended as soon as the money ran out. My ex-husband now lives a lonely life, struggling to pay off his loan and make ends meet, commuting between work and home. He deserved the punishment he got, but apparently, he couldn't accept it. He started spreading rumors about his affair at work, claiming that his mistress was abusing him. This caused a big mess, but no one believed either of them since they both lost their credibility. As his financial troubles worsened, my ex-husband was demoted and had his pay cut because his debts were affecting his work. It was all his fault, and frankly, he deserved it. On the other hand, I was nervous when I first moved into my new high-rise apartment, but now I'm able to relax and enjoy my life here. I'm not interested in marriage or romance for a while, but that doesn't mean I want to be alone forever. If I meet someone in the future, I hope we can build a healthy, supportive relationship based on what I've learned. For now, I'm focusing on working hard and making the most of my time for myself.